Yuneec Q500 4K Typhoon performance and stability. It takes 12 megapixel still shots in a RAW or JPEG format and everything is captured by 115-degree distortion-free lens, so you're not going to see any barrel distortion, which can be common with wide-angle lenses. Here's a look at some video straight out of camera. The camera is stabilized with a 3-axis gimbal, and I thought it was so smooth that many times it looked like it was sitting on a tripod in the air. On our test we didn't add a warp stabilizer or do any post-production work to make it seem more stable than it actually is. It looks pretty awesome even when the drone jerked a little and the footage stayed smooth. The only problem is that every once in a while I catch the edge of the prop in the frame or the sun shadow from the propellers, but if you shoot in 4K, a simple crop can cut those things right out. Yuneec Q500 4K Typhoon joystick control. The 5.5-inch display is a touchscreen, and that's how you make adjustments to your camera settings in flight. Of course, the only thing that bothers me a little is that the display is below the controls, so your eyes have to travel quite a distance between the screen and the quadcopter. I think it'd be much easier to keep an eye on both if the display was above the joystick control somewhere. Yuneec Q500 4K Typhoon quadcopter remote control camera settings 2017-2016. Typhoon Q500 Plus is also offered with the Go-to camera, which shoots up to 1080p, or if you already have a GoPro, check out the Typhoon G with a gimbal attached specifically for GoPro. Besides the excellent stability, I want to highlight 2 other features that I think really set the Typhoon 4K apart from other consumer drones right now. The first is that your display is built right into the controller, so you don't need a separate mobile device like a tablet or phone to see your feet or in-flight telemetry. Yuneec Q500 4K Typhoon quadcopter best photographer drone 2016-2017 GoPro attached. The only one controller called the Street 10 Plus acts as your ground station for communication with the drone, telling it where to go, when to take still images, when to record video, and what flight mode to use. One operator can shoot video and fly the drone at the same time, and you can control things like ISO, shutter speed, and tilt in the camera settings, so the included display is one feature that I like. The other is an interesting handheld device that's included with the drone called Steady Grip. So the Sako 3 camera and gimbal detach from the drone and attached to the Steady Grip to create the same smooth shake-free video on the ground. The footprint is small, but the impact is really cool, and again I'm impressed with how steady it looks. Using your smartphone to monitor and control Yuneec Q500 4K Typhoon drone. The switch is a really easy process, making the modular design of this gimbal and camera very versatile. The Steady Grip does need to be paired with the Go 3 app so you can see what you're shooting. You can mount your smartphone on top as a monitor. The downside is that it takes 8 AA batteries and they only power the device for about 15 to 20 minutes. Still, together the drone and the Steady Grip can capture interesting perspectives and angles that filmmakers have only dreamed about getting for years, mainly because the equipment needed to do it was out of their budget, but this Typhoon 4K puts it within reach for many. If you are planning to go out, then you might like to see 10 best electric shavers for men in the United States in terms of quality, price and shaving quality. Let me touch on a few other smart features built into the Typhoon 4K. There are 3 flight modes: Smart, Angle and Home Smart is a great mode for beginners and has 2 modes within it that will make it a little easier to fly and capture great footage at the same time. We always recommend you fly with a spotter, but someone who can watch the aircraft. Will you make sure the camera is capturing the footage that you want? But that's not always an option, so the first smart mode is Follow Me. In this mode the aircraft basically follows behind the controller wherever it goes. The other is Watch Me. In this mode the drone keeps the pilot holding the controller in focus and in frame no matter which way you fly it. Now that really means somewhere in the frame you're often not centered, and this mode works best when you're flying slowly. It's the ultimate drone selfie if you will. You also can use Canon Pixma printers to print your best shots. Also take a look at 10 best multifunction printers 2016. There's also a home mode that will tell the Typhoon to automatically fly back and land within 13 to 26 feet of the pilot and transmitter. Just make sure that the ground is really flat, and even otherwise I'd suggest landing it yourself. What's nice is this drone is designed for both beginner and advanced pilots. Once you feel comfortable in smart mode, most pilots switch to angle mode, which allows for more control, but it is easier to confuse the drone's orientation. We also found that the Typhoon 4K flew steadier in angle mode. The movements felt more controlled and deliberate. Yuneec Q500 4K Typhoon Airports and Personal Safety. If you're worried about complying with fast safety recommendations, don't be. The Typhoon 4K will not start if it's within 5 miles of a commercial airport and prevent you from flying above 400 feet into commercial space. In smart mode the drone also establishes a 26-foot diameter safe circle around the pilot and a geofence to keep it within 300 feet. Basically it takes some of the worry and risk at flying so that you can concentrate more on what you're capturing. But if you like to live dangerously, you can turn the GPS off and fly without restrictions, but I wouldn't recommend it unless you're working in a very controlled environment. Yuneec Q500 4K Typhoon flight time and ability to charge from your car. Flight time with the Typhoon 4K is about 25 minutes. Batteries are included in the Pro version, which is really nice, and so is a car charge. That way you can recharge your spare batteries using the car in the field while your drone is in the air. Yuneec includes a hard case with a handle to protect the Typhoon and steady grip. It's a little on the heavy side but really solid, and the drone is pretty much ready to go right out of the case. You just charge a battery and screw on the props. You're ready to fly. Very little assembly is required. You can easily have it from packed away to up in the air in a matter of minutes. That's a look at the Yuneec Typhoon 4K.